Okay, by subscriber request, we're having a little brief look at the history of Rosenborg BK, or just Rosenborg, club based in Trondheim in Norway, Norwegian champions and one of their most successful clubs of all time. They were formed in 1917, which, bearing in mind Trondheim at the time, very rural. It's about by the Arctic Circle, so it gets very, very cold in winter. It's dark for half the year. And they play at the Lerkendal Stadion, which has got a 21,405 seater capacity, which is not a bad sized stadium. Pretty decent sized stadium for Norwegian football. That's quite a big bit of real estate there. Now they've won the old Norwegian First Division / the Premier League in Norway 25 times. That's pretty good. They've won the Norwegian Cup 11 times. They're the current holders of the Norwegian Premier League. Oh, and by the way, between 91 and 2004, they won that league title a consecutive 13 times. It's 13 seasons in a row they won that title between 91 and 2004. They dominated Norwegian football at a time when Norwegian football was pretty good. They were doing pretty well actually playing football. You know, players like Tore Flo, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, John Carew. Yeah, these are household names if you were a football fan in the 90s and the 2000s. So when when Rosenborg of Trondheim were at their best, Norwegian football was at its best. They've had some troubled times in before and after, but 13 of their 25 league titles came in a decade and a bit. Now, because of their success in this period, they played a lot of games in Europe. They played 246 games in total in all European competitions that have been sanctioned by UEFA. They've obviously played in the Champions League, because champions of Norway. They played in the Europa League, UEFA Cup. Again, champions of Norway, you may not always qualify for the Champions League because the coefficients, so you might have to go into Europa League qualifying, but they qualify for the top two competitions of European Cup competition. They also used to play in the Cup Winners' Cup because they won that a lot of times before 1999. And of course, if everyone remembers the most pointless UEFA Intertoto Cup, they played some games in that as well. Now, out of all their European games, all 246 of them, they have won 96, which is not a bad return. Not a bad return. They've drawn 49 of them. That is not a bad return either. And yes, they have lost 101, but you've got to think of some of the teams in the Champions League and Europa League they would have been playing, or the old UEFA Cup. They'll be playing some pretty decent European sides who've got quite a bit of European silverware. But their win percentage of just over 39% isn't bad. It's nearly 40%. That's not a bad return considering they're Norwegian. This is not as if this is like the Dutch or the Belgian league, which is a higher standard. This is Norwegian league. This is a country of 4.5–5 million people, where football isn't actually the biggest sport. Ice hockey's got a big following in Norway. Indoor sports have a big following. Big popularity in football because it's near the Arctic Circle, especially Trondheim, where Rosenborg are based. Yeah, half the year you're in darkness, so you can't really play, and the winters get very, very, very cold and quite a bit of snow. So winter sports is more Norway's thing. So for a sport like football to be this popular is kind of surprising, and the small player pool. So to be that decent in Europe is not bad going, and of course, to win the league, that amount of times is not bad going either. Obviously, Rosenborg have had their ups and downs, like most clubs. They'll have a period of good success and then a period of lack of it. But they are current Norwegian champions. So they are currently playing in Europe. So this 246 games, that's going to go up. Whether they are as successful as they were earlier on, they have got to Champions League quarterfinals in their heyday. So they can play decent football. They're not no-hopers. But because the Premier League, Serie A, La Liga, Liga, and the Bundesliga have accelerated away from the other European leagues in quality level, the Norwegian league is at that second tier level, like the Dutch league, the Belgian league, the Norwegian, the Swedish. They're just that level below, but they still produce some really good players. And I'm going to leave on this. Rosenborg's best-known player, which they made a large amount of money on him as well, considering when he was sold. Fans of Aston Villa will know who he is. John Carew, brilliant player in his day. Not world class, not an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer or a Tore Flo, but a pretty solid centre forward. I wouldn't see him class those guys as world class, but they were class players. He was part of that Norwegian golden generation of this period between 91 and 2004. That was a good golden generation of Norwegian players, not just from Rosenborg, but from a variety of clubs in Norway. And John Carew, one of the best Norwegian players of all time. So there we go. That's a brief little look at the history of Rosenborg BK and their success. They have had some troubled periods, and I wasn't going to go through the entire time of the club. But they weren't originally called Rosenborg. They were called Odd back in the day. So yeah, originally called Odd, but a club based in Trondheim. They're not the most northerly professional club in Norway. Tromsø is actually above the Arctic Circle, and I could do a video on them as well. And they have also played in Europe um, in their time. And you've got SK Brann, and there's a few other clubs in Norway who've played in Europe and had decent runs in Europe. But Rosenborg are one of the biggest clubs in Norway, if not the biggest, and one of the most successful. And you don't win your title a consecutive 13 times if you're not a decent side. Thank you very much for watching. This is a subscriber request from a Norwegian subscriber, so thank you very much. And I thought I'd have a little look, and I hope I haven't butchered it too much with some of the Norwegian pronunciations. But John Carew used to play for the club, so they can produce good players in Norway. Admittedly, the national side isn't as good as it was. But the women's national team are doing quite well. And considering from a country that is famed more for its winter sports because of the geography and the conditions and where it is in the world, it's not bad going for a small country. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll have some more videos for you soon.